Hello viewers, I'm Dr. Fanikrishna Ravala. I'm a surgical gastroenterologist and a GI oncologist. Today we'll be talking about stomach cancer. In generally speaking, when we say stomach, we refer to the entire tummy, we call that stomach. But in the medical terminology, when we say stomach, it actually means a specific part of the gastrointestinal tract. So when you take food, you have the pharynx, which is the throat, which is there in the throat, that connects to the esophagus, which is the food pipe, and that goes and joins the stomach. The stomach is like a big pouch, a bag, you can call it, in the tummy, which actually is a food reservoir. It forms the function of a reservoir. So when you eat food, what it allows is, it allows you to have a fairly large quantity of food at one go, so that you can eat only 2 to 3 times a day. So when you eat food, what happens? The food goes into the stomach, it gets stored inside the stomach. The food you eat gets mixed with the intestinal juices and the gastric acid, which makes it into a much finer which gets churned into a much finer composition, which we call as chyle, and that gets gradually released into the intestines and the digestive process occurs. So this reservoir function is the main function of the stomach. So gastric cancer is when you have an abnormal proliferation of cells within the stomach wall. So when the stomach wall proliferation, most of the time when we say gastric cancer, we refer to adenocarcinoma. 95% of the tumors of the stomach are of the variety of adenocarcinomas, which is the tumors which arise from the cells which are lining the stomach wall, the gastric lining. There's a separate type of cells called the columnar cells, which line the gastric wall, and when these cells proliferate, they cause adenocarcinoma. Usually the gastric cancer, before it occurs, a couple of years, 2 to 5 years before itself, you have precancerous lesions. These precancerous lesions over a period of time convert into malignancy. So like I said, 95% of the tumors we deal with are tumors from the gastric lining, which we call adenocarcinomas. About the rest, other 5%, we have rarer tumors. The two commonest varieties in these are, one is called GIST, gastrointestinal stromal tumors, which arise from the muscle wall, specialized cells within the muscle wall of the stomach. And then you have the lymphoma. Lymphoma is from the lymphatic cells, the immunological cells which are within the stomach wall. So these three tumors, adenocarcinoma forms 95%, 5%, and the other 5% is gastrointestinal stromal tumors and the lymphomas. See, generally males are at a risk of gastric cancer. People over 60 years of age are at a higher risk of gastric cancer. Likewise, alcoholics and chronic smokers are at a risk of gastric cancer. Your diet also affects who gets gastric cancer. People who eat a lot of fatty food, people who eat a lot of red meats, people who eat processed foods, processed meat, stored meat like canned meat, smoked meat, people who eat pickled meats. So these kind of people who eat very salty and processed foods, these have higher nitrite and nitrate contents, which can lead to gastric cancer. There is another infection of the stomach called H. pylori. Helicobacter pylori infection can lead on to gastric cancer. Helicobacter pylori is of course an extremely common infection. In India, the incidence of Helicobacter pylori infection in the stomach is about 60 to 70% of the population has Helicobacter pylori. So not everyone who has Helicobacter pylori will develop gastric cancer, but it has been found that in some patients, this persistent Helicobacter pylori infection can lead to something called atrophic gastritis, and people who have this Helicobacter pylori induced gastritis can sometimes be at risk of gastric cancer. People who are obese and people who have persistent gastroesophageal reflux disease are at risk of gastric cancer. So patients who have persistent reflux of acid and bile causing persistent symptoms like chest pain, over a period of time, the esophageal lining gets damaged and gets replaced by a new type of lining, which is called Barrett's esophagus. So people who have this Barrett's esophagus are at a risk of gastric cancer. And family history is also people who have a positive family history of gastric cancer. Not just gastric cancer, people who have a family history of breast cancer, colon cancer, ovarian and endometrial cancer are also at a risk of gastric cancer. You have several syndromes such as Lynch syndrome, BRCA syndrome, then familial adenomatous polyposis syndrome. But more important than these syndromes, I think what we should realize is if any of your family member, more than one first degree, so two or more family members of you have had gastric cancer, or any of your first degree relatives means your brother, your parents, your kids, like that, any first degree relative has had gastric cancer at less than 40 years of age, that means you could be potentially at risk of gastric cancer, and you need to meet a gastroenterologist to check her up, to undergo regular endoscopic screening every 5 years. Well, the symptoms of gastric cancer are basically upper abdominal pain, indigestion, early satiety. Early satiety means even after eating a small amount of food, immediately your tummy feels full. So these are early symptoms of gastric cancer. Over a period of time, as the disease progresses, the tumor can ulcerate, leading to bleeding, causing blackish stools or blood in your vomitus. It can lead to persistent tumor, can lead to weight loss. Any weight loss more than 10% of your body weight is very significant. It can obstruct the stomach and cause persistent vomiting. So early satiety, indigestion, pain abdomen, these are symptoms of early gastric cancer. But as the tumor advances, you will get the symptoms like I said, vomiting, anemia, hemoglobin going down, GI bleed, passing blackish stools, hematemesis, and so on and so forth. So how do you differentiate, these symptoms like indigestion, dyspepsia, feeling of incomplete after eating full tummy, because they are very common symptoms. So how do you distinguish whether you actually is due to some sort of functional dyspepsia or you actually have a gastric cancer? Any new onset symptoms are of course very dangerous. So any patient who says I'm having indigestion and dyspepsia symptoms for the past 10 years is unlikely to have gastric cancer. But if a person, especially an elderly person, says that I was absolutely fine all these days and now for the past 2-3 months I'm having these new onset symptoms of indigestion, dyspepsia or upper abdominal pain, we have to give it a lot of significance. Any new change of symptoms in the recent months, we have to give it a lot of significance and evaluate with an upper GI endoscopy. Likewise, when you have red flags means hemoglobin dropping, anemia coming up, vomiting, weight loss, blackish stools or blood in your vomitus, we call them as red flags. So any patient who is having these symptoms should undergo evaluation. Sometimes even if you don't have these red flags, for your indigestion, dyspepsia, if the symptoms are significant, you're taking some regular antacids and your symptoms are not responding to these kind of medication, even then you need to meet a gastroenterologist and get an endoscopy done. Diagnosis of gastric cancer is actually very simple. A simple test called an upper GI endoscopy, which is done as a daycare procedure. You can walk into a clinic, get an endoscopy done and walk out immediately. So this upper GI endoscopy done diagnoses 95% of the gastric cancer. So sometimes patients can have early gastric cancer like in Barrett's esophagus or in the early changes, precancerous changes in the stomach lining. For these, nowadays we have special tests like narrowband imaging. So narrowband imaging is a test which you do with the endoscopies. It's called NBI endoscopy with narrowband imaging, which can detect these precancerous lesions. And sometimes in patients with early cancer, we might also need specialized tests like endoscopic ultrasound because the stomach has 3-4 layers, and the endoscopic ultrasound helps us see which part of the stomach, in which layer of the stomach the tumor is, and based on that you can decide on endoscopic treatment. Once you have a tumor, we do something called a biopsy and sometimes specialized tests called immunohistochemistry to identify which type of cancer it is. So by that you identify the type of cancer, and once you have a confirmed diagnosis of gastric cancer, then we may do tests like endoscopic ultrasound, a CT scan or a PET CT scan to stage the gastric cancer. Staging of a cancer means trying to identify where it is. Is this tumor limited to the stomach? Is it spread outside the stomach to the lymph nodes? Has it spread elsewhere to the liver or the lungs? So based on this endoscopic staging and the CT scan, PET CT scan staging, we decide the treatment of gastric cancer. Gastric cancer is preventable. A healthy lifestyle. So it is scientific data has clearly shown that a diet with a lot of fresh fruits and fresh vegetables, avoiding salted food, avoiding preserved food, avoiding smoked meats and pickled meats, and a diet which is more of fresh vegetables avoiding red meats, this kind of a diet, and avoiding fatty food, this kind of a diet can reduce the incidence of gastric cancer. An active lifestyle, active healthy lifestyle, avoiding obesity, avoiding a sedentary lifestyle, likewise avoiding smoking and alcohol also reduce the incidence of gastric cancer. Patients, if you have symptoms like anemia and persistent dyspepsia or new onset dyspepsia like we discussed, go to a gastroenterologist and get an endoscopy done so that we can pick it up at an early stage or pick it up at a precancerous stage and then prevent gastric cancer. Likewise, patients who have a family history of gastric cancer or the gastric related cancers like breast cancer, endometrial cancer, ovarian cancer and colon cancer, you undergo a regular endoscopic screening, especially if one of your first degree relatives had this cancer at a relatively younger age, less than 40 or so. In these patients you can undergo screening, and that thereby we can pick up early lesions and prevent progression of cancer. Thank you.